Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. It is a pleasure to welcome you here in person and virtually to this, the home of agriculture in the Americas. On this occasion, we would like to warmly welcome you to hold the event entitled the Digital Agriculture Week. We greet the Honorable Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA, who is joining us virtually. Mr. Federico Villarreal, Director of Technical Cooperation at the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. Mr. Federico Bert, Manager of Agri-Food Digitalization at the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. And the honorable authorities that are with us today. We are honored to also greet His Excellency Hinderwelt, Minister of Agriculture and Food Safety of Barbados, who will join this event throughout the morning, as well as the representatives of the co-sponsors that will be joining us today, either in person or physically. We also greet the government officers, the companies that are with us, and the officers of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. Welcome, everyone. We begin this event with the opening comments of Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA. Go ahead, Don Manuel. Well, hello. Thank you very much, Ronald. Good morning, everyone. I am very happy to be inaugurating the second edition of the Week of Digital Agriculture. We have to see this as a space of dialogue, of work, but particularly for action amongst public and private stakeholders in order to foster agri-food digitalization. This agri-food digitalization is at the center of IICA's agenda because we have understood, we recognize the critical role of digital technologies to face not only the current challenges, but also future challenges in agri-food systems. That is why, being coherent with this in 2022, when we adjusted our medium-term plan upon request of our constituents, we created the Agri-Food Digitalization Program, always with the objective of building bridges to foster effective digitalization, which has to be dynamic and inclusive. This week of digital agriculture, we see as an effort supported by our program and with the support, in fact, of all of IICA to build bridges, build networks. And in this sense, I would initially like to highlight, on one hand, the co-organization of this week, together with 7 strategic partners, whom I thank very much. Allow me to mention, first of all, 3 organizations, because of the commitment, CAF, IFAD, and Cifrales, and 4 entities from the private sector that have a stake in digitalization: Microsoft, Bayer, IDB, Veolia. And for that reason, I express my appreciation to all of you for your support and for your commitment. I would like to highlight the diversity of actors that will be participating in this event: ag-techs, high-level decision makers, investment funds, public research institutes, universities, farmers organizations, an entire ecosystem, very complex, public, private, where everyone has to coordinate efforts to move forward in this area of digitalization of agriculture. That is why during this digitalization week, we want to think about collective actions in this major area of digitalization. Evidence of this is the number of people that have arrived to headquarters to participate in person at the event, and whom I thank very much. I refer to the delegation of the agricultural school, technical school of Ecuador, Manaví, Ecuador, people from the University of Córdoba, Spain, SENASA, Argentina, representatives of CREA in my own country. We have people from Colombia and Costa Rica. Well, all of those that have, through their efforts, have decided to be present this week. This new edition for the Digital Agriculture Week takes a new dimension with two parallel events that will take place as part of this week. On one hand, a workshop that we have coordinated with NASA Cardas and the University of Maryland to work together with the countries in the use of digital technologies, national agricultural statistics, and to monitor the impact of extreme weather events, as well as a series of presentations with experts in digital agri from the University of Córdoba. At ICA, we recognize the outstanding role of AgTechs in the digitalization process, and that is why they are at the center of the event. They are new protagonists of the private sector. They put us in context and help us consolidate a network with these AgTechs. And we have been working together with the 15 AgTechs that were here last year, and the work that we will be starting with those present here today. And that is why we have been betting on a broader network. That is why at this edition, we will have two different activities, particularly planned for all AgTechs that participated in ICA's convening this Digital Agriculture Week. This Digital Agriculture Week is not just one more meeting. It is not an isolated event. It is part of a sequence of meetings in priority areas to catalyze collective action of countries, of public and private stakeholders, always seeking the transformation of agri-food systems. And all of this is part of the consolidation of a continental partnership for food security and sustainable development, something that we will be discussing at our ministerial meeting to be held specifically in San Jose, Costa Rica on October 3rd through 5th. That is why we see the week of digital agriculture as one more step in building this continental partnership. From ICA, we have very high expectations for this week, particularly. So we hope that once again, as a result of the exchanges and the networking that we are generating. So in this sense, allow me to mention two things. First, based on everything that is presented here, we will identify together ideas, priority actions, so that digitalization can move forward quickly without leaving anyone behind or out. Let us close the week agreeing on these priorities. And for me, as of now, we are fully committed. I am fully committed to put these on a roadmap and to highlight them at the highest level possible. Let us take advantage of this time together to coordinate new actions that may foster the use of digital solutions in agriculture. Let us propose concrete actions, for example, those to be held in the meetings between AgTechs and the funds, links between INEAS and AgTechs, And I expect the commitment to generate those spaces and build the bridges so that this happens. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for believing in ICA, an institution which is yours. And through this week, I pledge that ICA will continue its strong commitment and work so that digitalization can be an effective vector for the transformation of agriculture, a transformation that has to be sustainable, that has to be resilient, and above all, must be inclusive, fostering the incorporation of women and youth so that they are protagonists of new times for agriculture in the continent. And without further ado, once again, I thank you for this opportunity. And in advance, I would like to congratulate Federico Villarreal and all the teams for all the effort to be made this week, and particularly for the tasks that will be identified for the future. Greetings, and I wish you the best success. Thank you. Now I would offer the floor to Federico, manager of the ICA's Digitalization of Agri-Food Systems program, who will head the meeting. Go ahead, then, Federico. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, very well. Good morning. It is a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you very much, Manuel, for your opening remarks and for betting on this encounter of such diverse actors, as Manuel was mentioning before. To finish with the opening remarks, as Manuel, the Director General of ICA, said, ICA, above all, builds bridges so that things happen between public and private, private sectors become a reality. And for this, that is what we are here for. And we do not do this on our own. We cannot do it on our own. We do it in partnerships with organizations that believe and that are committed to the same things we are. In this case, the digitalization, which is perhaps what is most important, the most important thing that will happen to agriculture in forthcoming years. And we have to work together so that this occurs quickly and well. Quickly, so that we can reap the benefits very soon. And secondly, well, so that it does not become a threat and we can feel the benefits. So we do this in partnership. And as Manuel was mentioning on this occasion, and very happily we say so, we are accompanied by 7 strategic partners, 3 that were here last year for the first edition of the Digital Agriculture Week, and the rest are new. As co-host of this event, as ICA, we would like to share a few minutes to offer the representatives of these public and private organizations that are with us in this effort to celebrate this event. And to start with, I would like to offer the floor to my colleague here to my right, William Carles Mondon, Senior Specialist of the Yield Lab. William, thank you for being here with us. The floor is yours. Thank you, Federico. And I thank ICA for the invitation to be part of this event. I believe that those that are here all share this passion for development, particularly in the area of agriculture. As the Youth Lab, when we address this matter, we have to think of who will feed all these billions of people that we will expect for 2050 on this planet. Will Latin America and the Caribbean maintain this leadership in the production of food products for the world in an area of climate crisis, greater competition for resources? How can we can ensure the inclusion of women, indigenous peoples, youth, etc.? All these challenges that agriculture faces have been recognized by countries in their sustainable development projects and the commitments of each of these countries. I would imagine that those that are present here When we hear about these challenges, very likely we believe that the response is truly in technology-based solutions. And that is why we are here, because we believe in this. And we feel that innovation and digital transformation may help us reduce these productivity gaps, to apply the new paradigms of digital agriculture, add value based on digital capital, and overcome this climate crisis. From the Yield Lab, we have accepted this challenge of working with the different organizations in Latin America and the Caribbean, and that is why we are working with these, it's part of this network. We believe in the power of innovation, and we believe that people, the entrepreneurs, can guide us in the challenges we have to face. We are very pleased to be part of this event and to start these 4 days here. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you, William. Now I will offer the floor to our co-hosts. I would like to give an opportunity to Rene Orellana, Mexico, and on behalf of CAF, has some opening remarks. Rene, go ahead. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be present at a distance, but here to talk about something as important as agricultural practices related to the use of technologies such as those that have to do with digitalization. I would like to thank you for the initiative. This, no doubt, is a space to share ideas and to build together. Very valuable effort. I would like to congratulate all the institutions that have expressed their trust and support in ministers, vice ministers, authorities present, Dr. Otero, and all our friends from ICA, as well as other institutions. It is almost a tradition to meet for agro-digital weeks, and this is something that must prevail over time in order to share not only technologies, but also to foster innovation that will lead to solutions that are readily available within the reach of producers and growers, and that will help support the difficult yet no doubt a moving process of digital agriculture. Today, we have 72 million people in all these countries of Latin America in rural areas that have limited access to digitalization. And this has led to a gap not only in access to communication and information, but also for the utilization of technologies to ensure agricultural development. As our commitment, and as the private sector and the governments of the region, we want to expand the coverage of technological services to the rural areas, particularly focused on small growers, youth, women, entrepreneurs that can manage all these technologies in the context of their productive change. That could also be very useful. In fact, they are, and we will hear about particular innovations on how these digital technologies can allow us to prevent extreme events and intervene with adaptation actions to reduce the physical impacts of water and inadequate use of water resources, facilitate irrigation through digital technology that will no doubt allow to improve productivity. And above all, I would like to highlight the importance, the fact that this is a space for dialogue, to consider small indigenous peoples, producers, and whose linkage with the productive chains, with the startups and private sector, etc., is a virtuous circle and can help strengthen smaller production, small land tenure, avoid migration and offer agroecosystems in the wonderful areas that we have in Latin America and the Caribbean today. I wish you great success over these forthcoming days. Thank you for the initiative. You can count on CAF to continue supporting you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rene. I would like to thank CAF for its support through you and your team and your commitment to organizing this event. Not only the participation here, but also the contribution made for the preparation of this event. And continuing with the introduction of our strategic partners, I would like to offer the floor to Brandon Day, to my left here. Brandon is CEO of the Yield Lab Institute, another organization with us on this occasion. Brandon?
Yeah, thank you, Federico. Thank you, the ICA team and Director Otero for inviting the Yield Lab and the Yield Lab Institute to this Digital Ag Week. We're excited to see all the 15 startups, some of which we're very familiar with, some we aren't, to see what innovations and technologies they're working on. So for background, the Yield Lab is a global federation of venture capital funds. We are based in St. Louis in North America, where I'm located. We have a fund in Europe, a fund in Latin America, and a fund in Asia Pacific. So we wholeheartedly believe in the ecosystem approach to driving and supporting more innovation in agri-food tech. For you all, the Latin America Fund has been growing quite rapidly. We have a presence now in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and now Mexico. I was just in Querétaro last week. So we're really excited to see the innovations coming out of these really interesting different ecosystems and see how we can play a role to be more supportive of them. My organization, the Institute, we provide targeted programmatic things and initiatives to support even more innovation that's pre-commercial or very early risky stage. And part of that is to work with partners like ICA, like CAF, like IDB Lab and others to recognize that there's some things that venture capital can do and cannot do. And in some of those roles, we have to work with things that are very early stage, even at a research level, even working with universities that can be very, very risky technologies. And sometimes there are things that my organization can do to provide even more support to get them to a point where our venture capital funds are interested in wanting to invest in them. So we're excited to work with partners like ICA, IDB Lab, CAF, Microsoft, Bayer, and others to see where we can play a role to be even more supportive and build really holistic and really functional ecosystems in Central America and Latin America. So I'm excited to be participating this week, this Digital Ag Week. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and some of the other startups that we're not as familiar with. So I'm really excited to be here with you, Federico, and everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan, once again. It is a pleasure to have the Yield Lab and the Yield Lab Institute on board this initiative for second consecutive year. We also greet Teresita de Marco from here. She was committed to the process and she will be joining us throughout the week virtually. Something I did not mention before, but with each of the strategic partners on the agenda, we have specific elements on the agenda planned throughout the week. Now, I would like to offer the floor to Enrique Hennings. Enrique is representative of IFAD in Panama, and he is the head of Central America, Mesoamerica, Central America, and the Caribbean for IFAD. Thank you for IFAD support, Enrique. The floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Federico. It is a pleasure for me to greet you and to be present at this such important event. As you well know, digitalization is a vital tool for the development of small growers in the developing countries. IFAD is very committed to this task and has been working on the promotion of digital agriculture to improve efficiency, productivity of small growers, and to mitigate the impact, to strengthen the impact this can have on different areas, including resilience to climate change. Digitalization continues to be a challenge in Latin America, as has been said, and we need to reach the smallest growers who are lagging, because almost 70% of the rural inhabitants do not have adequate connectivity, and less than 20% has a basic knowledge to handle digital technologies. This is fundamental, and We really do not know how dynamic and inclusive it could be, or the speed of the impact that we will have. And that really depends on the activities that we undertake this week. As IFAD, we are very happy to collaborate with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, Microsoft Bayer, the Yield Lab, others throughout this second digital week for agriculture. We want to hear about the proposals and ideas you may have. We hope this is a very useful week for all participants and for those that are physically in Costa Rica, as well as those of us that are regrettably participating only virtually. I wish you a great week. Thank you very much. Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Fabricio, and all IFAD for supporting us throughout this event. As Enrique was saying, we must remember this is a hybrid event. We are here, some of us in person, a bit over 40 people in person, but virtually, I am sure there are many more. And we will be having presentations both in person as well as virtually. Margarita Morera is next from Microsoft. She just joined us, and through her, I would like to thank Microsoft. The opening remarks will be made by Ineke Jacinta. I hope I pronounced your. No, that was fine. That was fine. No, don't worry. I hope I pronounced that right. She is country manager for Microsoft Costa Rica. Ineke, thank you very much. A pleasure to have you here. Go ahead. Thank you very much, Federico. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, ICA and other companies that are participating today. Thank you for the opportunity for this partnership, which Microsoft values significantly, and for the opportunity to be part of this great initiative. The Digital Agriculture Week is ever more fundamental today with the big moments and opportunities we see in the world of technology. Our mission at Microsoft, in fact, considers empowering the agricultural ecosystem in Latin America to feed the world in a sustainable and digitalized and modern and inclusive manner. We, as I said, are living a unique moment in technology where we have seen technologies like artificial intelligence, the combination of multiple technologies, such as advanced analytics, the Internet of Things, mixed reality, creating a series of opportunities and benefits for processes and significant impacts on agriculture, as well as the democratization of technology and bringing inclusiveness. Additionally, we, with great enthusiasm, see the appearance of what we call the digital natives, where we see that through Latin America, the significant rise of startups. And we see how also these are transforming and in fact supporting the world of agriculture with the AgTech Digital Natives acronym. Microsoft wants to be a platform of help to enable these startups focusing on agriculture to bring digitalization and transformation to the sector. Have a very good day. I wish you great success. You can count on us. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ineke, and thank you very much, Microsoft, again, for joining us unconditionally during the different initiatives that ICA develops for digital agriculture. Now, I would like to give the floor to Carlos Serrano Barquero from the IFAD Veolia company. He is the legal representative of this company, and we would like to thank him for their commitment to carry out this event. Thank you. Thank you, Federico. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today. Veolia, this is the first time we participate in this event. Our relationship with ICA has existed for a year or so, and we have been able to find a great player in Latin America in the agricultural sector through ICA. So as as farmers that we are, this is a company that has existed for over 150 years. We started 5 years ago in Spain. And throughout this time that Veolia has been working in different sectors, particularly in the water sector and residues and energy, we have about 213,000 workers worldwide. And then we saw the opportunity of participating in the agricultural sector as water technologists to make sure that this technology is a more efficient one and then can provide better services in a better or a most efficient way to handle or manage water. We're already managing water in many cities, but now we want to work in the field, in the rural areas. And agriculture is definitely an art. And as an art, we have artists. Those are those who wake up every morning, very early in the morning, to crop and grow all the different foods that we can enjoy later on at home. So hopefully we will be able to give said artists tools that will enable them to work in a more efficient manner, in a more sustainable manner. And for this, large companies like ours can actually collaborate and sponsor and guide these great artists who are the hands that work the land. So thank you, Ika. Thank you very much for your coordination, for your cooperation. And Veolia is really pleased to be able to participate during this agricultural week, Digital Agricultural Week. Well, thank you very much, Veolia, for joining us. And to conclude this round of welcoming remarks, I would like to share the floor with Beatriz Arrieta. Beatriz Arrieta is the regional manager of food Bayer chain at Bayer. This is another company that has joined us unconditionally in different activities and initiatives that we propose at ICA regarding digital agriculture. We have been working together with Beatriz for several years now. So Beatriz is welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here. The floor is yours. Thank you very much, Federico. And thank you, ICA, for taking Bayer into consideration once again in this Digital Agriculture Week. And we're not only excited to be able to start this week formally, where we've been working on these topics, but beyond being able to join you, we are truly convinced at Bayer that the way to produce food in a sustainable manner is through digitalization. And all these initiatives, all these opportunities that have risen during this week and that have been chosen made me feel truly surprised of their quality and the number. So I would like to congratulate all the people who registered, all participants, and of course, those who are there in person, because you will learn much from all of these initiatives. And everything is with the same objective. The idea is to help the farmer who is producing on a day basis, and so that those who are fortunate enough to have 3 meals a day can enjoy those 3 meals. And the idea is not only to help the large producers, but also small producers through these different tools that we have seen and we have had the opportunity to evaluate and assess, and we have been able to congratulate those who are in person. I would also like to urge all of those who have not joined us yet, and I know that have been invited, because we will be able to continue developing in the future. Thank you, Ika, for inviting us this year. It is a great honor to be part of this Digital Agriculture Week. And I wish you much success. Thank you all. Thank you very much, Beatrice. And thanks, Bayer, for joining us in this and other activities that we carry out regarding digital agriculture. Now, having concluded the welcoming remarks and making sure that those who have made this possible are here present, either in person or virtually, to conclude this very first part, we will have a break in a moment, don't worry, with coffee and so on. But now we would like at ICA, together with Federico Villarreal, the Director of Technical Cooperation at ICA, to tell you briefly about ICA and share some information that will help us frame this week and understand where we're headed and what we need or what we want to come out of this week. The objective as a whole is to promote the digitalization of agriculture. So with Federico, I would like to start or share with you a couple of presentations so that we can share this information with you. And without further ado, Federico, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Federico. Welcome, all of you, to the home of agriculture of the Americas. ICA is truly honored to have you all here. I would like to thank once again our strategic partners and welcome all of you to this second Digital Agriculture Week. And I would like to thank SATEC, who have also won and is here, because as Beatriz mentioned, it was a true challenge to identify the 15 ag techs that could be present here and that we wanted to be present here, because all of them were really good. All the proposals were amazing, and it was truly stimulating to be able to acknowledge this capital that exists to be able to promote the development of the agriculture of the Americas, which is ICA's mission as a whole. As Federico was saying, both of us are going to make two presentations. Mine is a general one. The idea is to show you where the agri-food digitalization program fits within ICA and what ICA is a little bit as well. Because those of us who work at ICA understand it clearly, of course, but not all people do understand that. So it is important just to give this as a general framework, just for you to understand where this Digital Agriculture Week fits in. So I'm going to share my screen now. I can see you're seeing it. And the main objective is then to talk to you about technical cooperation at ICA. In order to simplify greatly the structure of ICA, I'm going to start from the top, and I'm going to start with international organizations. Oftentimes, we assume that everybody knows about international organizations, and people think it's a homogeneous group, but it's not. There are different types of international organizations, and ICA is one of them. So just giving you a very simple characterization of ICA, we can say that there are certain international organizations for financing. And there were at least two interventions here prior to mine, the IDB, the Yield Lab, and CAF that have to do with financing, the IFAD, the GEF, the World Bank. There are many groups that try to foster actions in countries. And today, this morning, I was thinking how to mention this. The common idea of, or the mandates of these organizations are countries. There's nothing above that. So countries, almost all of them, almost all countries, or in some cases, it may be a group of countries or some partners, are part of these organizations for financing, coordination, or guidance. So again, the mandates of international organizations are countries. We have the organizations that are meant to articulate. And those in charge of articulation, I am identifying those that are part of some conventions or the organization of something. So they require the articulation of countries for the development and of initiatives to tackle particular situations, or maybe not so particular situations. We have the Convention on Climate Change of the UN. We have the biodiversity one, and I'm missing one. Oh, the certification one. So the three conventions are countries of the UN sign the convention, and that means that they commit to reach an agreement to face a number of issues. In this case, climate change or the certification or biodiversity issues. Then we have the trade organizations, the World Trade Organization, that tries to identify in countries a number of agreements that may favor trade, some standards for the development of Codex Alimentarius, for example, that may facilitate the exchange of goods and services among countries. But the idea is for these organizations is to articulate initiatives under certain topics that may be biodiversity, climate change, or soil health, or facilitate trade, or facilitate health issues, or other types of issues. And the third group have to do with cooperation. And this is where ICA is located. We have an OAS and FAO. And let me just clarify something here. ICA is part of the Inter-American system because it applies to the entire American hemisphere. It is associated to the OAS, but it's not part of the OAS because these are two different organizations. Countries signed to be part of ICA, and countries also signed to be part of the OAS. So it's not like because they belong to OAS, they also belong to ICA. So there are some countries like Cuba that is part of the OAS, but it's not part of ICA or the Convention of ICA. So this is just to show you that we are all international organizations, but we're all the same. The only difference is our general functioning. So ICA is an organization for technical cooperation. The mandates of these organizations are countries. And within countries, it would be the ministries of agriculture in the case of ICA. So what do? Let me insist, or let me repeat myself. They mandate. They tell us what we need to do. Who does this? Well, the Director General of ICA. In this case, Manuel Otero, who was elected by the 34th Minister of Agriculture as the Director General of ICA. And so he needs to make sure ICA is doing what countries are telling ICA to do. And within the world of the Director General, then we have, or under the Director General, we have all the different offices at ICA. We have hemispheric directorates, everything that you see here, the headquarters, everything that you see happening in each country. So one of the main capitals ICA has is that it has offices in all 34 countries that make it up. And the fact that it has offices goes beyond having the physical space. Offices have been there for 40 years. Some may be there for over more than 40, others under 40, but ICA has existed for 80 years. Why does it go beyond this physical space? It means that they are committed, that there's presence in each country, and that there is a constant communication with the governments, and there's a branding that has been created, and that's one of the main articulation capitals of the Institute. our presence goes beyond then the physical space. There's presence in countries, and we have been acknowledged by these countries. That's why the Ministers of Agriculture is always looking at what ICA does and what it shouldn't be doing, of course. Uh, so there's always discussion around this. And within, and so the Director General is the one that guides us in general, everything that happens at ICA. And then we have 4 directorates. We have the Corporate Directorate Services that has to do with all the administration part, the External Affairs Directorate that develops the frameworks and strengthens the strategic alliances or partnerships. Then we have another one for, together with foreign affairs, identifies the different areas and places where things can be developed, projects can be developed, and the technical director and the director of technical cooperation that has to do with the execution of projects, both with external resources that are non-ordinary, non-regular, that are not provided by countries, and also the ordinary ones that are provided by countries. Hopefully, this was clear enough. Hopefully, I didn't confuse you much, because this is what we do. And at the Technical Cooperation Directorate. And now let me show you a video that summarizes very clearly what we call the medium-term plan. When countries elect a Director General has to say what he is going to be doing or what he proposes to do. And countries react to that in some way. Maybe they ask for certain amendments or changes, and then they also approve it. Once countries agree, these 34 ministers of agriculture agree to what the Director General proposes to do, and so we start working on those things. So let me show the video now. And there's a video that is also posted in ICA's website. So it only lasts like 3 minutes.
Cultura del sistema interamericano que apoya los esfuerzos de los Estados miembros para lograr su desarrollo agrícola y su bienestar rural. Desde el 2018, la organización es liderada por el argentino Manuel Otero, quien establece la estrategia en el Plan de Mediano Plazo, PMP 2018-2022, 2022-2026. Junto a los 34 Estados miembros de América, una oficina permanente en Europa y más de 200 socios a nivel global, el IICA busca aumentar las contribuciones del sector agropecuario al crecimiento económico y al desarrollo sostenible, contribuir al bienestar de los habitantes en los territorios rurales, mejorar el comercio internacional y regional, promover la acción climática, todo con el objetivo de sostener la producción y el progreso social. El PMP 2022-2026 es un plan actualizado y ajustado que da continuidad al trabajo iniciado en 2018. Las estrategias se resumen a ser un ICA de puertas abiertas, ambientalmente responsable y cercano a la comunidad, ofrecer una cooperación técnica de excelencia, promover un liderazgo hemisférico que fortalezca los sistemas agroalimentarios, desarrollar una gestión administrativa eficiente basada en la mejora continua orientada a resultados, fortalecer las finanzas del instituto mediante la optimización de sus operaciones. La cooperación del IICA se da por medio de los 7 programas de acción hemisférica. Innovación y economía. Desarrollo territorial y agricultura familiar. Comercio internacional e integración regional. Acción climática y sostenibilidad agropecuaria. Sanidad agropecuaria, inocuidad y calidad de los agroalimentos. Digitalización agroalimentaria. Equidad de género y juventudes. Por último, se implementan 2 nuevas iniciativas. El Observatorio de Políticas Públicas para los Sistemas Agroalimentarios, OPSA, y la Escuela de Líderes de la Transformación Agroalimentaria de las Américas, ELSA. ICA cuenta con alianzas estratégicas intersectoriales, sector privado, sector público, academias, organizaciones no gubernamentales, centros de investigación, que se enfocan en mejorar la captación de recursos externos para incrementar la inversión en la agricultura y la vida rural. El trabajo administrativo se rige a partir de la transparencia, la descentralización, la innovación, la eficiencia y eficacia, la resiliencia, la articulación y el trabajo en equipo. Pilares fundamentales para lograr el desarrollo estratégico de la organización, el fortalecimiento del talento humano, la sostenibilidad financiera y la gestión administrativa descentralizada, continuando así con la optimización máxima de nuestros recursos. Somos una ICA que escucha, propone y actúa, y junto con los 34 Estados miembros continuaremos nuestra misión de estimular, promover y apoyar el desarrollo agrícola y el bienestar rural.
Very well. So I'm just going to repeat briefly some of the things that were already mentioned, but just to highlight a few of the things said. In the video, it was OPSA was mentioned. That is the Observatory of Public Policies for the Transformation of Agri-Food Systems, and also the School of Leaders for the Transformation of Agri-Food Systems. And then something else that is added in 2018, which is the Center for Services for the Management of Knowledge and Horizontal Cooperation. So all this e-learning system is then centralized around these things, and also taking into consideration horizontal cooperation with ICA. The School of Leaders and the Observatory are being built, and they are going to be launched in the next executive committee, which would be held with the different members of the Institute. Then the 7 programs were mentioned, and we also have 12 mechanisms of cooperation in this technical cooperation at the sub-regional level, in which ICA participates and has somewhat indirect participation in all of them, like Prosisur, Fontagro, OIMA, Foragro, CIAO, COSAVE, Prosinorte, where ICA functions in some cases as part of the executive secretariat, and others, aside from being part of the executive secretariat, it's part of the board. Sometimes it's only part of the executive secretariat. So these are different ways, and these are sub-regional mechanisms. They are within the hemisphere, but they do not involve all the countries of the hemisphere. And each one of them has different functions. As it was mentioned in the video, there are 7 programs of hemispheric action. One of them is the only area that was created together with this update of the new medium-term plan, which is agri-food digitalization led by Federico. This program and the actions in digital agriculture started getting much importance with COVID. They became ever more important at the Institute. It was not until then that we had a hemispheric action program. Before 2018, digitalization of agriculture was important, but there was no operational line. Now, because of COVID, it became much more important, and then it started functioning as a program, but it was not formally established. It was established with a medium-term plan of 2022-2026. The other areas were already there. They were somewhat modified maybe this year, but one thing that is key is the idea of working as a network and interdisciplinarity. So these are programs that work specifically on a certain area, but they are meant to work with one another. So you probably, during the lunch breaks and coffee breaks, you will get to know the directors of the other programs, because we want you to have much interaction with them. We're talking about digital agriculture, but we cannot let go of family farming, for example, or all the other things related to trade, which is one of the functionalities of many of the AgTech promoted here. The promotion of youth, gender as well, and everything that has to do with climate change as well. So these are not, they do not have discrete boundaries. So the idea is to provide solutions that go beyond the areas that are being worked on specifically in each one of them. The Digital Agriculture Week is part of something that was mentioned by Dr. Otero, which is the Continental Alliance for Food Safety and Sustainable Development in the Americas. So the week is one of 8 events that we want to develop. 2 have already taken place. One, it was not called the week. It was a dialogue for science, technology, and innovation, which took place about 2 weeks ago, where the cooperation mechanisms took part of the CJR centers. And these I have had, they are present in the region. There were other strategic partners that had to do with science, technology, and innovation. There are other things for biofuels in Latin America that took place here in the headquarters. And then we have the Agricultural Week, Digital Agricultural Week. And then we will have another one in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and another on public policies, One Health, international trade in the region, a forum of female ministers and high officers in agriculture. So the objective here is to show through these partnerships the importance of collective action regarding the agriculture of the Americas. And this will be presented before the IFAD, which is the meeting of the mandates, the meeting of the 34 ministers of agriculture that will be held in the headquarters of ICA in October. And this is together with Director General Otero as a joint action. And the next step is to go to COP28 to face climate change that will take place in the United Arab States. And we already had a stand and reach of an agreement, a consensus regarding the agriculture of the Americas. So just to let you know that whatever comes out of this Digital Agriculture Week will go first to countries, to the 34 countries, and then to the world as we participate in COP28. And before I give Federico the floor, the technical cooperation of ICA from during this Otero administration has as one of its characteristics flexibility. We look for and execute concrete and effective solutions to real problems. We believe that's key. We want to gain more technical cooperation and be in the lead of said knowledge, but we want this to be turned into concrete and effective solutions. And the demand for innovation has become something very important and is key. And countries have demonstrated that as well and have asked that from us. When we talk about innovation, digital agriculture is key to this innovation, and it's a key component nowadays, particularly as we move towards the future. So ICA's technical cooperation train of thought is to listen to those who have problems, and be it regions, countries, or producers, and also the areas where these problems occur, to give feasible solutions. And this week then is key in this sense, identifying those who may have solutions to those particular problems that somehow limit the development in many cases, or that not allow them to be as efficient as they can be according to the needs. So we think they have to be timely, flexible, and to the point. That's why we want to find this kind of solutions. And then we have the problems, we have the solutions. To make this effective, we need to have the resources. And this is where international organizations linked to financing are a key part of our strategic partners and the allocation of resources for the solution to all of these countries. So mobilizing all these aspects is key as well. When we talk about resources, we do not only talk about economic resources, although they are needed, but also human resources and institutional resources for all of this to actually work well, and for these solutions to actually solve the problems we're facing. So this is the general strategy and the structure that I wanted to show you so that you can have at least a general idea what ICA is all about, where we are, where this week fits in, and in terms of cooperation, how we are doing things to this year and for the future in terms of digital agriculture as part of the solution for agriculture. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Federico. To end this block, and after the detailed description given by Federico of ICA and its structure, we would like to basically double-click on agri-food digitalization program. And through that double-click, we would like to share with you the vision we have on the digitalization process and how it structures the type of actions that ICA will be pushing forward and is proposing together with its partners. I will also share a brief presentation to better organize what I want to share with you. Allow me to share some things that have already been said, but and we have heard before. Agri-food systems as a whole have major challenges ahead, and not only in the future, but in fact in the present. Or as once and again we hear, and not because we hear it once and again does it cease to be valid, just the opposite. In fact, we need to increase production. We need to reduce the impact on health, and we need to offer possibilities for education to people in communities in the framework of agri-food production, as well as some other things, but these in particular. No one challenges, in fact, that this one way or another has to be done. What we believe is that digital technologies are absolutely necessary to overcome those challenges in the agri-food systems. I come from Argentina, and I clearly understood these challenges of the agri-food system in Argentina. But then when I started to work with the 34 countries of the Americas here at ICA, I realized that what we were seeing and experiencing in Argentina was common to many of the, to most of the Latin America countries in the continent, and in fact beyond. So I see that this challenge is global, with different magnitudes at different levels, but it is a common factor to all actors in the agri-food system, present and future. And once again, our vision from the program is for that digital technologies are necessary to address this. Perhaps not even enough. Not only with digital technologies can we solve those issues, but they are absolutely necessary. Why? Because they offer greater efficiency, fewer transaction costs, or reduced transactional costs, because they offer the possibility to gather and share more information among the different links in the chain, and even consumers, and to reduce asymmetries, among many other benefits of digital agriculture. And the good news in all of this, and most of you here are part of that good news, is that lately there has been a proliferation of digital solutions here and there and everywhere, all different types, and not always are they used. And that is one of the things we would like to discuss in the 4 days ahead of us. But I would say there is an explosion of offering of digital solutions with our ag techs as protagonists. So with the week, in the Digital Agriculture Week, we have multiple actors. Special guests are the ag techs, both in the first as well as the second edition. As Enrique said, we believe that hand in hand with the ag techs, which are gaining greater protagonism in the agri-food sector, we will find many of the solutions to the challenges we mentioned before. And as ICA, once we share with you the essence of ICA's endeavors, is to foster the development of digital solutions and their best utilization. We quite clearly understand that digital technologies, many of those that you develop, will transform agriculture as other industries would transform. Just as an example, perhaps the biggest and most impactful transformations that will inevitably happen. That will inevitably happen. The fact that agri-food value chains will be different as a result of the introduction of digital technologies. And this brings great benefits. This transformation will very likely, if we do what we should, will leave us in a better position than what we currently are, more efficient, fewer impacts, greater transparency, etc. But Eddie, we have the obligation up to a certain point of saying that everything has a good side, but a risky side at the same time, not necessarily a bad side or threats. And we have seen how some of those threats linked to the incorporation of digital technologies turned into the transformation of value chain, as is the passenger transportation system that occurred in the past. And for that reason, we propose a series of actions to have a balanced outlook. We are betting on the benefits of digitalization in agriculture, but at the same time, we call upon the rest of our colleagues to pay attention to the fact that digitalization or the incorporation of digital methods could include some threats. Some are very evident if we look at the digital transformation of other chains. In some cases, there were greater inequalities. There was an acceleration of exclusion of those that cannot adapt to the new scenario. We have an image here I put on purpose, conflicts due to the changes in the power. It may seem distant from agriculture, but it will evidently happen. A transformation like that presupposed by digitalization will change those relationships of power, exclusion of workers, particularly due to automation, things that we need to address without determining right now whether this will be positive or negative. But we cannot ignore them. And something not negligible is what may happen with the violation of privacy and ownership, because the amount of data coming from this transformation, and this is nothing negligible. We need to bear this in mind at all times. Where are we? Or where do we understand we are? This presentation is also for you to make your own contributions throughout the week and together so that we can shape a vision or carve out at least parts of a common vision. If in a very simplified manner, we suppose that some years ago, not too long ago, we were in a completely analog agriculture, and that in the future, we have no idea when, but it seems to be inevitable, we will move toward fully digitalized agri-food systems, and we understand that we are just starting down that path. All transformations have been going along for quite some time, and the digital ones perhaps move a bit faster, but not necessarily in agriculture. We understand that we are just starting the path with great heterogeneity. There are certain digital solutions in some countries, in some sectors that adapt quickly, but many farmers today, for example, use or look at satellite imagery or consult apps for weather information. But when we talk about the harder technologies, quote and unquote, more sophisticated with sensors, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and all these things, right there, then we are certainly at the beginning of that type of solutions. So, Erika, we think that although this is the beginning, we are gaining pace, and we are paying more attention to this phenomenon, turning this subject matter into a program. And from now on, all it will do is accelerate, move along faster, and therefore we believe this is the time to work together to drive digital transformation of agriculture so as to capture as soon as possible its benefits and avoid or try to minimize the threats this may represent. That is a general overview, the 30,000-foot level view of digitalization and digital transformation of agriculture, and some of the actions that we want to share with you result from this. As Federico said in his opening remarks, the Agri-Food Digitalization Program is one of the 7 programs here for technical cooperation at IICA. And what we aim through the program is to support the member states in digitalizing their agri-food systems as a necessary process for the sustainable and inclusive transformation of agri-food systems. Digital transformation as part of the general transformation of agri-food systems. In this program, and to be very summarized, we have, I guess, three major lines of action, or guidelines for action, as it says here. First, we propose and we have carried out a series of actions that have to do with creating awareness or putting the subject matter on the agenda of the ICA's constituents. And after that, support the development of institutional structures and policies to promote the development and utilization of digital solutions. The second line of action, I guess, and this event has a lot to do with it, is that from ICA, we can detect digital solutions and digitalization experiences and map them all out to help disseminate these, the successful ones and the less successful ones, or the non-successful ones. Those are lessons learned. And given the uniqueness of agriculture, which is so heterogeneous, so diverse throughout the Americas, from here and in contact with all types of existing agriculture in the Americas, we want to help that the different solutions come to the ground in the different countries, cross boundaries, and adapt to the realities or diversity of agriculture in the Americas. And lastly, we recognize, and we will certainly be talking about this, I am sure, throughout the week, that one of the factors that somewhat limit digitalization today and highlight the occurrence of its threats is the lack of skills and knowledge to deal with digital solutions, because many of the growers are not digital natives. So we have this line of action in that sense. Not ICA directly, or at least not mainly, to offer training, but together with institutions that do focus directly on that. This image, I will not give you details, but it shows several of the actions that we have moved forward with in the program that fit within those 3 lines we mentioned before: research, meetings, a Fab Lab, CMAG. This sounds strange for the time being, but we will walk through it this afternoon so you can see what this is all about. Several actions that respond to the strategy and the lines of action mentioned before. In ending on this, regarding this event in particular, although we have been giving you little bits of the information of what this is all about, as the Director General said at the beginning, this is a workspace. I am sorry if you thought you were not going to work, because you will work. But impossible, hopefully having fun and in a very unstructured manner, we will relax as the event advances. And in very general terms, we will tell you later what we expect specifically, but we would like to hear ideas and coordinate actions to drive digital transformation. Possibly, we may not change our history from here, or us by ourselves, but I'm sure we can do something positive. And that is the proposal. How to do it? Well, first by thinking collectively and then coordinating actions in general terms. That is the idea. And there is no random participation here in the meeting room or virtually. We have not invited people randomly. We have invited people from private or public sectors that are participating in this digitalization process. Each one in our own position, perhaps without realizing we are protagonists of this process. So we wanted to bring together all these protagonists because from here, we would like to build great strength for things to move down the right track. This is the right time to do it, and that is why we are holding this meeting right now, not 5 years ago, nor 5 years into the future. You already know who we are working with and those that believe the same things we do in this sense. And we also mentioned this, but we have participants here that are experts, like Arturo out there in the back, and several others that will be connecting virtually multilateral organizations that we described earlier. Investment funds tomorrow, the morning section will be focused on interacting and learning with the venture capitalists from different countries of the Americas, institutes, universities, enterprise, large companies, Bayer, Microsoft, Veolia, high-level officers, ICA constituents, and the panel, and the AgTechs office. Which AgTechs? Well, those selected through a very competitive process, a selection where a jury, which I will tell you who the members were, selected. We received some 75 nominations. We did a first internal pre-selection based on certain criteria. And the 42 were pre-selected, and then there was a whole team through an individual evaluation and plenary sections. They selected 15 winning AgTechs from 9 different countries. A very competitive process, by the way. Most were left out, unfortunately, but and this as opposed to last year. We have so much interest in connecting to those that are here as well as those that are not here today. So beyond the fact that the AgTechs that participated and did not win on this occasion, unfortunately, hopefully some other time, will participate in virtual sessions, particularly on 2 mornings with the investment fund and on Wednesday with Bayer, Microsoft, and Veolia. The network we are bringing together and we want to achieve with the AgTechs includes them all. And just by chance, and for those that are participating virtually at this time, today here we have 15. But for other activities, as happened in last year's Digital Agriculture Week, we convened other AgTechs. There were several that did not participate last year, but that did participate with the IDB then in the Andean region with another project. That is a fact. But we believe this will be of great impact. We are sure. Okay, these are the members of the jury that selected the AgTechs. We thank them, each and every one, for their commitment. This was a lot of hard work. There's a whole diversity of representatives, as you can see, all the way from academia to AgTechs that participated last year and that are networking with ICA right now, strategic partners. Benchmarks from the entrepreneurial world, Mariana Vasconcelos. And we tried to have a great diversity here to weight different criteria and different views in the final selection. They were quite critical, let me tell you. It was a very competitive process, so it is a privilege. And in ending, these are the major blocks that we have for our agenda this week. I am sure you already saw it. You can access here, but there's basically everything that we thought was necessary to discuss in a space like this, conversations with technological entities, high-level decision makers, which is the next panel, your presentations also, keynote addresses, growers associations to hear the voice of the producers themselves from different regions of the Americas, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, the Andean region, North America. Quite a variety. So what are we expecting from this week? We were very honest. We said we have come here to work, and as a result of all that work, we are expecting some things that are less tangible, but not less important. Like this is something we are betting on networking. That is why we have come together, particularly in person, although others are here virtually. We want to give great visibility to the subject matter, and I know you do too. We believe this is a very important subject matter, and we want it to climb up through the agendas of political decision makers. And, together, and as a result of the week, we can list a series of priorities, things we feel we need to do to move digital transformation, and in as much as possible, list concrete actions for that to become a reality. As Fede said, whatever comes out of here, remember that first of all, we will take it to the countries. We will put this on the table of our ministers, our constituents, and then to the entire world in the COP, with the active presence of ICA at COP, a pavilion with a lot of movement and a lot of possibility to create great influences. And we want to foster collaboration, our AgTechs and with AgTechs with BAMs, all the different possibilities. And that is what we are here for. I would like to highlight those 2 points that appear here. We must list priorities as an outcome and that we propose actions. So what we will do is that the digitalization team, Carlos Alicia, and the entire team that is working as part of the program, we will try to extract the main messages of all the different comments. And then Thursday, we can come with a short document trying to reflect what we gathered. And I do not know if I can say we can reach consensus about it, but at least ensure there is nothing that will make anyone feel uneasy. That is the message. That is our output for Thursday. Obviously, it will be needing a bit of fine-tuning, but do not keep silent. Propose ideas, because a good part of this event is precisely for that. In person and virtual, and that is about it. With this, we end, repeating that we welcome you. We thank you very much for your presence here, for those that are here physically, and for those of you that are virtually. We thank you all. Let us take about a half-hour break now for a networking and coffee break, and then we will come back to the policy discussion. Anything else? Oh, yes. Thank you, Federico, for reminding me. Yes, there are many people that have worked very, very, very hard and whom I would like to thank. They are basically on the sides. They have been working on the margins to develop and organize an event like this. Liliana, Priscilla, Ricardo, Adriana, Isaac, I see you over there, and Randall. We are all here available to you to work on whatever is necessary. Feel at home, but we are here to help you in whatever we can. We have simultaneous interpretation. There will be presentations in English and in Portuguese, so we will have simultaneous interpretation at all times. For those of you that are virtually, you select the language you want to listen to. on the Zoom screen. And that is all. With this, we end our first session and let us take a break. Thank you very much.
Perdón, el café creo está abajo. En el lobby.
The coffee is served downstairs in the lobby. You just need to go downstairs.
Conference will begin in 2 minutes. La conferencia comenzará en 2 minutos.
Very well. Let's continue with the second panel for this morning. And as said before, this is a panel on public policies and everything that can be done to promote digitalization in general terms, that is the development of digital solutions, as well as the use of said technologies. This is a great panel that we managed to put together. So please pay a lot of attention. Probably you will have lots of take-home messages after this panel. So first, we'll have a brief presentation by two of ICA's staff, Joaquin Ares and Eugenio Salazar, who are here with us today. They are the ones who are taking care of OPSA, the observatory, and they will be telling us about it and what the Observatory of Public Policies has mapped in terms of digitalization policies. And then we'll have a discussion based on some questions that we had sent to our panel members, starting with the president of Embrapa Brazil, Silvia Machura. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly, with the Minister of Agriculture of Barbados, in their way, who will be joining us virtually. Then the Director of Innovation at the Ministry of Science and Technology of Costa Rica, Mr. Torres, and then Carla do Nascimento Macario, who we welcome. She is the head of Digital Agriculture in Embrapa, Brazil. Diego Caicedo Pino Agorte, and we thank him for his presence. He is the AI Andean Community Director General. And Mr. Francois Eudes, who is the RDT Director of the Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food in Canada. So, to start with this panel formally, I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Joaquin so that he can start with his presentation together with Eugenia. Good morning. It is a great pleasure for me to be with you, even though it may be virtually, and just to give you a presentation, as Federico mentioned, about what we have registered at the Observatory of Public Policies for the transformation of agri-food systems, where there is a specific area for policies that is called transformation, digital transformation. Now, going straight into the topic, some of the definitions that are needed, as well as the scope of what we can do so far with the information that we have recorded at the observatory, is that, first of all, the observatory has 8 modules, and I'm going to base my presentation on 4 of said modules so that I limit my presentation in terms of time. Then we have here we have a module of initiatives that are interventions that reflect the allocation of public resources and private resources to generate public goods. And we talk about this because they are not only governmental interventions, but also public-private partnerships and also private institutions that may lead to public goods. And another module is the policy frameworks, which is the legal basis or the framework that frame all what the state and society do in this sense. Then we have another module that we think to be very useful, and in time we'll see its usefulness. It's a module of good practices or best practices that will help us do some assessment to identify scalable experiences. The more we learn about the implementation of policies and tools, the better we can promote its escalation to other countries and regions. And then we have the indicators module, which in our case are metrics that measure the impacts, outcomes, and products of public policies. So we want to monitor what is going on in terms of impact in the region and assess the effectiveness of said policies. So the way I want to do this presentation is to establish a hypothesis that we believe may help guide the discussion of this panel. This is just a sample. It is not, it's important to clarify that. It's a sample of initiatives and good practices and best practices and different political policy frameworks in countries where we have been able to register information. The specific area is digital transformation, and it registers the information in 10 different dimensions. We won't be able to cover them all, but they'll be in the presentation. So the first hypothesis I would like to set forth here is that the topic of digital transformation, and it's in the slide as TD, has been used or institutionalized in very few countries, and it requires a greater positioning in the political agenda of countries in the region. This is something that we need to talk about so that this is institutionalized. So based on different political frameworks and analyzing the different initiatives and standard use, there are about 7,700 words used to describe these policies. And of course, there are biases because some policies are described shortly and others have more lengthy descriptions. So we are not going to say whether we're in favor or against any initiatives, but basically these frameworks are established as plans, national plans or regional plans, strategies, policies. Roadmaps is another word that is used in many countries. Programs, platform is another keyword that is being used. System, legislation, laws, declarations. And we're talking about the entire scope where this is being developed not only nationally, but also regionally, hemispherically, and worldwide. There may be also agreements and so on and so forth. So the mapping that we have so far is still not complete, and that's something that needs to be clear. But we have been able to prioritize a number of countries. You can see that we have a very large sample of countries, but we have greater records for Colombia, Peru, and Brazil, and Uruguay as well. And you may also see, and this is important to highlight, that the observatory allows us to have a regional perspective of the advancement or progress in these topics. And you can see that this region of the Americas, we see the regional programs for the digital transformation, which was agreed upon in the Summit of the Americas, just to give you an example of the type of information that is being recorded by the observatory. The second hypothesis that we want to set forth here is the need for a comprehensive progress without leaving anyone behind. First, in terms of improving connectivity and access to digitalization. Second, develop digital solutions. Third, providing digital services and the generation of digital services and products. Fourth, strengthening of the capabilities for the use and better use of these digital technologies. This is to look at all the different initiatives that we have recorded at OPSA by May 26th. And here we find that we can classify these policy interventions under 4 topics. One would be digital solutions. The second is services or digital products. The third is use of these technologies. And fourth would be connectivity and access to these digital technologies. Now, looking at digital solutions, you can see the keywords that we can see in most policies: blockchain, platform, artificial intelligence, the agtechs. There are different ways to present these: precision, electronic trade, monitoring, remote monitoring of production, the recording of or the cadastre mapping, and the Internet of Things. And there we are monitoring the frequency in which these terms are being used. In the second component of services, the emphasis is mainly on the provision of information services and data, financial services, and less, but still being a trend, we have technical assistance, virtual extension, and digital government. There are a number of initiatives in the region that seek to improve or enhance the provision of services, digital services by the government. One example is in Costa Rica, where there is a digital service with mobile phones to monitor the processing plants of foods that are animal based. Then the other one would be the use and exploitation of technologies, where we have the use of technologies, the strengthening of our capabilities, the adoption of said technologies, improvement of skills, competencies, and there are a number of examples of digital centers to enhance the knowledge that exists regarding these technologies and training. You may sometimes be biased and forget to include a number of words or terms, but these are the words that are most commonly used and where the emphasis is put in this mapping we've done so far. And the last one has to do with connectivity and access, where in general terms, they talk about information technology, internet, role in some cases. Connectivity, of course, also shows up in the drafting of the policies, infrastructure as a priority, the improvement of the environment to improve digitalization in the region, and how to also enhance the speed of access. 3G, 4G, and 5G are also present there, but not as often in the drafting. The third hypothesis that I wanted to mention is that the initiatives with financing for the digital transformation are still just getting started. As I said before, at the observatory, we have only seen digital transformation as one of the policy areas, but there are 17 policy areas. So right now we have mapped a number of them, and the OPSA is just getting started in terms of recording information. Right now we have 750 records, and out of those 750, only 15 have to do with digital transformation in the region, and 35 have to do with digital transformation in combination with other areas of intervention of the policies. Around 5%, 7% of the interventions have to do with digital transformation. The total investment that we have added up so far is $159,000 million. And it's important to see, that is $159 billion, sorry. And it's important to see how these have been used to support the development of this topic in the region. So we are talking about an amount of money that is being used to enhance digital transformation in the region. Another interesting thing that I wanted to mention is that we're not talking only about interventions that have to do exclusively with digital transformation. 50% have to do with this exclusively, but there's another trend that is quite marked in the region, is that digital transformation has to do with a more comprehensive framework that is the environment for innovation, family agriculture or family farming, resilience to climate change, water for agriculture, bioentrepreneurships, soil health, associativity, conservation of biodiversity, gender and youth, and uh, health measures and plant and animal health measures. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. And something else that I wanted to mention, there are many initiatives in the observatory that involve different countries, several different countries together. We have the initiatives, for example, of Argentina and the initiatives of Colombia and Peru that are initiatives that are almost hemispheric. And then we have the United States there because there is a very interesting initiative for the use of drones and simulation models to be able to optimize the use of grass in dairy production in Latin America and the US. So here we have an interesting exchange of initiatives among countries. And we have another level, which are the ones that are exclusive to countries. Right now, there is some emphasis given to Brazil, Peru, and Colombia. And we have several examples in Central America as well. So the next hypothesis that I wanted to present before you is that there is a need, and this does not only apply to digital technology, or digital transformation, but there's a need for policies to be able to be evaluated with regards to their outcomes and tools. So in terms of outcomes, when policies are being announced, it's being mapped that out of the 50 that we have registered, the outcomes have mainly to do with technological innovation, productivity and efficiency, generation of information, strengthening of capabilities, commercial competitiveness. Those are the major emphasis of the outcomes expected. And what we want to enhance in time as policies are as something we can assess and are assessed is how effective these policies are. In a mapping of tools, we have support for the adoption of information and management of information, strengthening of capabilities, investment. Oftentimes it's not easy to see, but there is information for digitalization and digitation, which is different. That is to establish records, blockchain, technical assistance to producers. There are a number of instruments that are being combined to attain outcomes in these policies. And as I was saying before, the best practices module that we have in the observatory maps all the different policies that have been assessed, and we have been able to see how efficient and effective they've been, if they are sustainable, and what were the lessons learned out of these practices that help us select those practices that may be scaled up at the country level, but also at the region level. And the idea is to promote this regional escalation. So there are many policies that have been assessed, and so far we have not found one that have to do with digital transformation that it has been assessed. If any of you knows of one, let us know so that we can record that in the observatory. So the fifth hypothesis, and I'm almost done here, that I want to give you just to motivate the discussion is that connectivity is a must to be able to have access and use and be able to exploit agri-food digitalization. So let me give you some information about this study that we started back in 2020 together with Microsoft and Syngenta and Bayer. And that was updated in 2021. And we developed this index of significant rural connectivity and significant urban connectivity that has to do with access to the internet and the trend in time on how it is improving. So very quickly, we see that quality is being measured in our case on whether there is regular use of internet, if we have the adequate devices to access the services and use the services, if we have enough data to navigate, and if we have the right speed. And with that, we built the index, and the study was updated together with the help of all these institutions, and we reached this alarming situation present in Latin America. And probably this is no news to you. Approximately 72 million of people living in rural areas, that is 61% of rural population in Latin America and the Caribbean, in 26 countries do not have access to connectivity with the minimum quality standards according to the shared concept that we presented. If we compare 2020, well, the study in 2020 used data from 2017, and the recent update used data from 2021. And there was an improvement of 12% in the quality, but we still have a lot of people who do not have access to quality communication. We develop a number of clusters, and the situation is quite different in different countries in the region. Countries that have a low level of significant rural connectivity, and those that have a medium level of connectivity, and those who have a high level of connectivity. And here we have, for example, Costa Rica, Brazil, Argentina, etc. I urge you to visit our page. Here's the link, and look at the study so that you can see not only the information about this connectivity information, but other information about policies. So just to summarize, first, it is necessary to position the issue of digital transformation in the political agenda of the countries in the region, then to structure intervention within the medium and long-term strategy, that is to organize the public spending. Third, to tackle simultaneously the problem of access, use, and exploitation of the new technologies among rural populations. It is important for us to move forward, but we cannot leave any of these aspects out to do so. Fourth, to assess the effectiveness and the impact of policies and their instruments to amend whatever we're doing, and also to identify experiences that may be escalated to other places. And then differentiated strategies by type of players and type of agri-food systems in the region. And it's not the same to have a policy for family farming or for indigenous growers than for more for bigger producers. And there are also different producing places or areas that have different needs at all levels, but it also has to do with digital transformation. So I just want to thank the team who has allowed us to have all this. Most of them are there. Federico, Alicia, who is joining us from Brazil, Eugenia Salazar from Costa Rica, Ediner Fuentes is probably connected, listening to us from Panama, and Alejandra Garcia from El Salvador, who is visiting Costa Rica, so probably she's in person there. So I would like to thank them all, and I would also like to invite you to join OPSA's network, not only for you to take advantage of all the information that we offer there, as well as the analysis that we develop, but also to join us so that we can have a more comprehensive and complete mapping of what's going on in the region, and so that we can learn and move faster forward in terms of how to work with technologies like the ones that will be discussed today. So I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you, and I look forward to your discussion. Thank you. Thank you, Joaquin, and thank you Thanks to the team, your presentation was very clear and very detailed. It is important to know where we're standing in terms of initiatives and policies that have to do with digital transformation at the country, region, and global level. The profile you showed us is the basis to see and identify where the opportunities are and see where some things that are being done in certain countries may be useful in other countries. And that's the objective of this discussion. So I would like to ask Joaquin and Eugenia to stay so that you can also be part of this discussion. But now to start with this exchange of ideas, I would like to ask our colleagues from technologies and information to help us have the representative from Embrapa, then Carla Macabio. She's going to be talking to us about what Brazil is doing in particular in the public sector to promote digitalization of agriculture.
With great satisfaction, we are here to welcome you to the Digital Agriculture Week fostered by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. Director General of ICA, Dr. Manuel Otero, and the Manager of Digital Agriculture, Federico Bert. Greetings to you, and in fact to all those that are participating in this event. Today, as Chair of Embrapa, I would like to talk about this subject matter. Digital agriculture is my professional activity. Over, in fact, 30 years, I have participated in several research projects, and I have been manager over the last 7 years as head of digital agriculture here at Embrapa. Here we see the importance of ensuring a visionary perspective, and that was important to develop solutions for agriculture in Brazil. It is important for us to revisit the past. Embrapa, as to digital infrastructure, well, this was created in 1985 as a core of agricultural data, and in 1993 it became a national center for research and digital transformation, now called Embrapa Digital Agriculture. CITs have a cross-cutting connection throughout the production chain. We work today with digitalized agriculture. We can talk about all types of different work with water systems, and that is only possible because we have been able to work with content, digital content. And when we say we have different types of data that we gather from the agromet stations and drones and all the imagery, all of this is heterogeneous data that can be used to turn this information or data into knowledge for the producers and farmers, and can be used for post-production, warehousing, storage, and all the way to marketing. We have technologies, the Internet of Things, blockchain, and several other technologies that we can use to add value, more value to the production chain and ensure greater sustainability. There is transparency in the production process that consumers demand, because our consumers today worry much more about their health and the origin of their food products, and technologies can offer precisely that transparency in the production process. Embrapa has been acting in different lines and in different areas related to digital agriculture, artificial intelligence, and all of that. We can see the greater importance of all these new technologies within the agricultural production processes, particularly to foster public policies like zoning. the definition of climate zoning in the different country, in the country, and we have rural insurance also. From 2015 and onwards, to reduce climate risk, we have resorted to digital agriculture to generate new data, weather models, and continuously perfect that important technology for agriculture in Brazil. And it's important to highlight that we still have many challenges ahead of us in this country. And there are producers that have difficulties to access technology. They have a lot of difficulties. So we need to work together on digital inclusion of these small and medium producers, so as to help them increase their income and ensure great sustainable production. So it is important that we work hand in hand with these medium and small growers. These technologies are fundamental for us to help them. And additionally, at Embrapa today, we have a project that will help with the training in different disciplines so as to better understand how technology can give value to the production chain. I believe this is a very important event for us to discuss the opportunities to enter into partnerships and to generate good ideas. Please, you can count on Embrapa for these strategies. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Silvia. As she mentions, this subject matter is part of Brazil's public policy for the last 35 years. Embrapa started to work on this way long back. There is so much to learn from that experience. And then in a few more minutes, we will hear the participation of Carla, who will give us more details of some of the policies that Silvia has given us a highlight of. Allow me now to jump to another region, the Caribbean region. I would like to welcome the Minister of Indarweit, Minister of Agriculture of Barbados. I would like to offer the floor to the Minister for him to tell us a bit about how Barbados foresees digitalization of agriculture and what the country is doing at this time or plans to do to promote digitalization of agriculture. So, Mr. Minister, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Keely Holder, and I am the Chief of Agriculture from the Ministry of Agriculture in Barbados. I'm representing the Honorable Indarware Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Nutritional Security in Barbados. Greetings and salutations from Barbados, and thank you for having us on. I wanted, first of all, to share that our country has just declared on the 1st of May a new Mission Barbados, which speaks to six missions for Barbados, one of which is by 2030, we want to transform Barbados to be a high-functioning, resilient society with seamless access to services and meaningful digital inclusion for all Barbadians. And mission number 3 for Barbados is also that by 2030, we want to ensure that every Barbadian has equitable and reliable access to clean water and nutritious food that is affordable. These are the two national frameworks that are filtering and shaping digital agriculture transformation for Barbados. To that end, the Ministry of Agriculture has already prepared and has had approval by the Cabinet of Barbados, the agriculture and climate policy. In our agriculture and climate, we are taking a climate smart agriculture approach to addressing resilience, and particularly as for an event, we are using innovative technology to predict and prepare for weather events, and that means the use of agrometeorology, and also using it to assist farmers in increasing productivity and reducing losses despite the harsh climatic conditions. To this end, it means that our approach is now to use the application of knowledge throughout the entire agricultural sector to information and communication technologies and digital technologies to be able to assist our farmers in doing that. So this forms part of the framework of the new agriculture and climate change policy. And our next policy which we are working on preparing for the agricultural sector is a digital and innovative agriculture policy, which will speak to a full framework as to how we will transform the ministry, in particular, into a digital ministry. And that means that all decisions that are being made at the decision-making level, we are getting a huge amount of data analytics. So we have a framework of information from the agriculture are feeding up into the decision making. And then on the other side of it, in terms of our education and providing information and communication to the public, likewise, there will be a full transformation so that all information is moving outwards to our many publics, our farmers, the general population, all aspects of agriculture, and we'll be receiving this information to a digital PR and social media platform to be able to share all of that digital information with our many stakeholders. Additional to this framework will also be the establishment of the Barbados Innovation Center for Agriculture. This work has already started with the assistance of ICA. We have already set up a farm box system similar to the Innovation Center that is based in Costa Rica. We also have virtual DBI as well as software and tools to assist, including drones as well, to use in our display center. And we are currently in the phase of actually building a new facility that will host the entire center and have a replica of what is in Costa Rica, so that likewise we could empower more young persons by having them exposed to these digital technologies in agriculture from very early. So we will have a physical framework as well to start to encourage that migration with youth. And then finally, in terms of the building out of the entire holistic framework, we write a digital mapping of all of our farms in Barbados, and we will be using that information to develop different information that we will be able to assist farmers better with to help develop the types of tools which are needed for things like blockchain technology, needed for IoT technologies. All of those things are reliant on having that digital mapping framework. And we are starting this work, and we expect by the end of this year to be completed with doing this digital mapping. And that would then allow us to move very swiftly into developing a full digital agricultural framework. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. My apologies when I introduced you as a minister of Barbados. Thank you very much for allowing us to learn what your country is doing regarding digital agriculture, and to continue to receive the view of another region. I would like to offer the floor to Mr. Caicedo Pino Argote, Secretary General of the Andean Community. Andean Community, as part of its strategic plan, has a component specifically focused on digitalization in very general terms, and that encompasses the agriculture. And that is why we consider that the importance of Mr. Caicedo's presentation will be very important, so that you can see how the Andean community is approaching and promoting this effort and the results obtained. Diego, thank you very much for being here. The floor is yours. Thank you. Special greetings to Manuel Otero. I would also like to greet the ministers and different participants. It is important to highlight all of this. Perhaps to start, I would like to say that we have been working very hard this matter of digital transformation. We believe it is important to close these gaps, not only within the 4 countries of the Andean community, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, but also for third countries. And down those lines, our governments have been working very hard. It is worth mentioning there is political willingness, and this is reflected in the declaration by the presidents in 2022, showing digital agriculture and digital transformation as important to close the gap, particularly in such an important area for our countries as is agriculture. In this sense, I would like to mention some elements we believe important to share without detriment of my being able to point out some other specific actions we are taking in this area. First, consider the exponential growth of the digital economy. And it has become a priority for the governments and organisms considering priority the improvement in infrastructure and connectivity, work on digital talent, and other aspects related to data governance. Digital transformation in the agriculture sector should be focused on the use of tools for automation of processes through artificial intelligence, amongst others. It is also possible to examine the behavior of productive processes, identifying problems, increasing productivity and competitiveness of the sector. Through information and digitalization, we can also have integrated pest control. And I will talk about some other actions later on. But we need to exchange views of experts and experiences in partnership. The possibilities of marketing, for example. Digital transformation implies analyzing and understanding and utilizing data as best as possible. Information on public and private sectors must be utilizable or for use at all different levels. To utilize digital agriculture, we must close gaps related to the bankability of producers and matters related to internet coverage in rural areas in our countries. As of now, the General Secretary of the Andean Community has been fostering actions in favor of micro SMEs, a very broad segment in our region, to contribute to their digital transformation possible and increase their productivity through webinars and training courses to achieve this. From the General Secretariat, we are also fostering initiatives, projects, and programs aimed at strengthening the strategy to access to technological and digital transformation solutions. And allow me to mention that last year, we approved a roadmap with a digital agenda, which was approved in 2022 and basically seeks that transformation and technological development of our countries. The digital agenda offers the possibility of working together to foster and develop the infrastructure, innovation, and the creation of a much more integrated digital market. Among the actions that can support the agriculture to increase its competitiveness, we have a reduction of the digital gap that will allow the agriculture sector to access connectivity and digital information, productive development, adoption of new processes for phytosanitary protection and productivity. In the framework of all this work, I believe it is important to highlight the work done by the e-commerce groups and the Andean community of micro SMEs. The Secretariat additionally fosters the work through workshops to share information with segment to contribute to their digital transformation, aside from strengthening governance and regulatory development to regularize the digital economy. Allow me to add also 2 specific projects we are driving. The Intercom project, digital exchange of commercial or trade documents to facilitate foreign trade activities, and with this, handling produce through the sub-region. We have another project called Regional Center for Phytosanitary Intelligence. The project aims at early detection of phytosanitary issues, and digitalization of agriculture will be able to systematize information generated by phytosanitary surveillance, develop early warning systems to avoid the spread of a given disease or pest, and additionally use technological tools that will allow to analyze information for decision-making purposes. All of this with the support of national phytosanitary production services in all 4 countries. And additionally, as umbrella to over all of this, we are driving an Andean agricultural agenda that seeks to develop the development of this area through regional direction, through the regional activities, and work with different segments to drive competitiveness, productivity, sustainability, and inclusion. And with this, contribute to food security and sovereignty of our countries under 5 lines of action: a trade and agribusiness development, family agriculture, agricultural health and food safety, technology and innovation, and capacity building. So under these 5 lines of action, we foresee developing an information and management system for in-person and virtual training through the experience of people from the region that work in the agriculture area, and develop a technological platform of knowledge and exchange of information to work with all the different actors to allow to better exchange and permanently exchange experiences. We want to observe and monitor phytosanitary measures and their results in 30 countries. And we want to strengthen access to electronic commerce through digital means to promote these produce. This in major lines is what we are doing at the Andean community level, prioritizing, as I said, digital transformation and at a cross-cutting level, holistically through a device. And that is what I would like to share at this time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Diego. We very much appreciate what you have shared. This is an example of how the Andean community has prioritized digital transformation and the strategy and planning through concrete actions to actively foster digitalization. I believe this is a very interesting example to be examined by other countries and other regions, and I am sure we will come back to questions to talk in greater detail about some of these elements. I would like to offer the floor now to Federico Torres here to my left for him to share the perspectives down those same lines as before, but from the Costa Rican stance. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Federico. Well, for the Ministry of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications of Costa Rica, it is a great pleasure to share this forum and to listen to the extraordinary policies under development in different parts of our continent. In the case of Costa Rica, I believe it is very important to highlight, first of all, that we have a long-term policy called the National Society and Economy based on knowledge for 2050 for the science and technology part of the ministry. A series of 5-year plans are developed. We develop a national plan for science, technology, and innovation. At this time, it is the one currently in force dates covers 2022 through 2027 and involves the vision of the country and the digitalization process. In Costa Rica, the plan has a set of indicators, abuse, and commitments of the institutions that are part of the public and the private sectors. We have a practice, in fact, of signing letters of agreement among the different institutions for monitoring and follow-up of the results and outcomes so that the policy may be measurable, verifiable, And we remember that in public policy, if you cannot measure it, it will not happen. If we do not measure the impact of a public policy, we could not be able to say later what we did with such a big effort to build this vision for our countries. So we have worked very hard for this model to be implemented in the country, and we hope to have results so that hopefully, perhaps at the end of this 5-year period, we can have these impact assessments to serve as a basis to evaluate the public policies we have been working with since 2022. And all below this set or framework of public policies, we also have a series of strategies. And let me come to ground with the matters of interest today. We have 2 strategies that are fundamental. One is digital transformation that expired in 2022, and we launched another now for 2023. That strategy involved other areas for agriculture, particularly focused on precision agriculture, including a bit of artificial intelligence and data science and the productive area, and a bit about what Europe recommends in these areas, where the digitalization effort in the area of agriculture must cover 3 very important dimensions. Firstly, greater productivity and impacting productive processes. Secondly, logistics. And thirdly, interaction with consumers. So those 3 elements that Europe clearly includes in its a policy from farm to table, we have tried to include it also hopefully very clearly in these public policy frameworks, because we feel it is a very concrete approach, very simple, so that we do not leave fundamental elements of the public policy out. We have another strategy that I believe is fundamental to mention, and that is the bioeconomy strategy. This was a strategy launched in 2020, August 2020 specifically. And this is one of the first strategies that at the country level we worked on among several ministries. There were 4 different ministries that worked through an interministerial committee to guide the development and productive transformation of Costa Rica towards sustainability. The strategy involves the participation of the Ministry of Science, Technology, Information, and Telecommunications, represented by myself, but also other ministries like the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, the Ministry of Economy, Industry, and Commerce, and the Ministry of the Environment and Energy. Those 4 institutions, plus development banking. We have always believed that we cannot do productive transformation of companies if they do not have the ability to invest in that productive transformation, just as happens with digital transformation. So funding is needed, and that is why we involved the development banking system in that process. So in this strategy, in 2023 now, we are working on the plans of action. And one of the speakers mentioned this before. It is fundamental to guide public policies towards the sector and the regional area where we develop it. It is not just the same to develop public policies in the case of Costa Rica, for example, in bioeconomy for the Atlantic or for the Pacific area or for one of our regions that is landlocked. So policies are different. And the development indicators are different also, as well as the value chains involved. Those are different. So at this time, we have been working very hard on the development of a series of regional plans related to bioeconomy, where we seek productive transformation of these companies, focusing on sustainability, but depending on the conditions of each region in the country. The bioeconomy strategy also involves matters of digitalization. And in this sense, we have embraced with great enthusiasm the vision of OECD of the twin policies, in the sense that focusing on sustainability and on digitalization should be strategies that go hand in hand, that must move forward in a consistent and coherent manner. We have embraced this vision, and that is why we have a bioeconomy and another one for biodigital transformation. We need these to support each other. As colleagues of the panel have already mentioned, it is fundamental to include artificial intelligence and data science and IoT, the blockchain, and many other technologies that gradually move forward and show results for the transformation of the agro. We expect that by involving those technologies and productive processes, that is the critical element to ensure a country can move forward. Just to mention one of the projects we worked on in 2021 and ended in 2022. This is a project we have the Ministry of Agriculture entitled Agri-Innovation. The project is quite broad. For some of you Costa Ricans, you may know very different lines of it, but we developed a project for 92 farms in parts regarding irrigation and to include IoT and data management into the irrigation processes at these properties. This was very successful and in fact is being replicated by other institutions in the country. And there's a lot of family agriculture in our country. That is the reality. So we want those farms of family farmers can have access to high-level technologies throughout the country so that they can share their data. And through those data, we can generate a more effective decision-making and greater productivity for the properties involved. This is basically just an example of where we have involved both the technology side with direct impact on the farms in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federico. Very clear and complete. Very useful to hear how Costa Rica is dealing with this topic and that it's not leaving things to chance, but it has strategies that may conclude and then it updates the strategies to continue with them. So I would like to conclude this end of the first round of presentations with Francois Eudes. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Francois. You are the Director of Research and Development of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. Canada has recently approved and published a strategic plan for science and technology, and probably Francois will tell us more about it. And there is a specific component in it dealing with digital agriculture, and that's why we wanted to have the perspective from a country in the northern region that was thinking about strategies and actions on these topics, and that hopefully you'll have some major activity in this sense. So, Francois, welcome. Thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
Well, thanks very much for the invitation today to contribute to this panel. That's my great pleasure to represent Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, my department. So I work with the federal government of Canada. And yes, we recently announced a 10-year AFC, so Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada strategy plan for science. So I would like first to bring a little bit of context to explain why we thought it was important to update our strategic plan for science. First of all, it's related to the major advancement in technology. So no doubt that remote sensing using satellite data to remote sensing in greenhouses are used to collect data and volume of data that can be interpreted and extract valuable information to know what is the forecast, weather coming, or predict production in the Canadian prairies or production of lettuce, cucumber in greenhouses, and to link that production along the value chain to the market, either domestic or export market. But so we see significantly advancements in technologies which are penetrating the agriculture and agri-food sector. various ways of collecting data, and again, various algorithm software that can extract data, but also data that is becoming a very valuable commodity in the private sector, and for public service, an important source of information and insight to inform the public as well as the agriculture and agri-food sector. We see also a very rapid growth in the innovation ecosystem. We see new players, startup company coming up. We see also great strive in the academic environment in relation to technology, data. And we see an increasing complexity in the series of challenges that the sector is facing. Certainly, climate change comes to mind in northern country. The number of degree change are amplified, and we see a significant variation in the climate pattern, which is putting a significant challenge for production in farms. But there is other source of challenges in the stability of the trade, international trade, as well as domestic. So all this prompt us to develop a new science plan that would guide future investment, but also guide research priorities over the next decade. So that strategic plan for science has three broad pillars. I'll focus on mission-driven science, while the science and technology branch has always focused on biological science in relation to crop production systems, to livestock production systems, soil, environment. For the first time, we adopted a completely different approach, not commodity-based, but going across a number of these challenges. So I'm thinking at climate change as one of the mission, resilience, circular economy, and a new one, accelerating digital transformation in agriculture and agri-food. So likely a recognition of the importance of the digital technology or the data and digital technologies. So in that mission, accelerating digital transformation, we see 5 pillars: people, cybersecurity, digital infrastructure, data, and enterprise architecture. So there is a recognition of the importance of upscaling digital literacy and dexterity of people, as well as retaining people, not only in public sector, but you can extend that thought to the private sector and academia, all stakeholders involved in the agriculture and agri-food sector. Cybersecurity within Government of Canada is certainly one of the very important and sensitive pillar out of the 5. We all wish to have a fast and reliable as well as secure infrastructure solution within public service, but also with the ability to collaborate, exchange data, work with other third parties. But that cybersecurity is also key to the value chains in agriculture and agri-food in Canada. The digital infrastructure, I heard a lot of talk about access. In such a large country as Canada, rural area do not have the same access to internet and the same bandwidth as Canadians have in urban area. And not to say about the northern Canada, where there's even lesser access to the digital infrastructure. So it's a key priority for Canada to expand the access to a high performance network across the country. So producers in the remote area and in the north can have access to all the technologies and the benefit it can bring to their production systems. Regarding the data pillar, a lot of the conversation gravitated around the storage of the data. the access to a secure and hybrid enable solution, which could be in-house with servers or accessing the cloud environment, but also adopting better data management practices. I recently read a book, the title, I forgot the name of the author, but the title is Worldwide Waste. And the author argue that 90% of the data generated is waste. So think about how we can improve our data management and reduce the reliability on some infrastructure that can be very expensive, but also become very rapidly obsolete. In terms of data management, we help develop standards related to the data, as well as the metadata, as well as the adoption of the FAIR principle for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And that is essential to support a collaborative research environment, also collaboration with citizens, and to deploy our open science or to implement the open science policy. The fifth pillar is enterprise architecture. Again, here, what we're thinking at is, in short, machine readable data. So from one application to another, these applications, these algorithms can talk and exchange data. So this is essentially the core of the strategy related to accelerating digital transformation in agriculture and agri-food. But there are a number of programs that would support the effort that is done within the science and technology branch of my department. We have other program branch that is focusing on supporting, so investing, co-investing in a number of activities that would be contributing to upskilling the people in the ag and food sector, as well as helping them to make some technological transition related to data and digital technology, as well as greener technology. There is another department in Canada that is playing a significant role in preparing the country for that digital transformation. That's the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, IFAD. This department is making substantial investment in the academia to train people, contribute to develop technologies, but also invest directly to support emerging company who are developing the next generation of technologies for the sector. So these two departments have programs that work hand in hand, also hand in hand with science and technology to support the agriculture and agri-food sector. So I'll stop here for now and be happy to make other contribution or take questions later.
Muchísimas gracias, François.
Well, thank you very much, Francois. Very clear, very detailed. The explanation of where this plan came from, its content, and some of the things that will come later. Now, to continue with this panel, I would like to give the floor now to Carla. Let's go back to the case of Brazil, in the case of Embrapa. Carla will be speaking in Portuguese, so if you want, please make sure to use the devices for simultaneous interpretation. Those you can find right at the table. And so, Carla, thank you very much for being here again in the second edition of the Digital Agricultural Week. And we would like to go back to what Sylvia was saying and ask you if, from your perspective, you can give us some further details with regards to the initiatives or the policies that Sylvia mentioned at the beginning that Brazil is undertaking in terms of development and use of digital solutions. Go ahead, Carla. Good morning. I would like to thank once again for your invitation. I am here to elaborate upon what our chair of Embrapa has already mentioned. So just by elaborating on what she already said on digital technologies in agriculture, taking into consideration the three phases of the productive chain, she talked about the development of that may be tolerant to water stress and those that also support production. She also talked about some technologies for production stages. And there we have precision agriculture and some also for mapping or tracking technologies that include post-production. And Embrapa then is working on those three phases of the production chain. And something else I would like to mention, additionally to what was already said, is that Brazil has been working strongly on a digital transformation strategy. And I'm not speaking specifically about agriculture. The digital transformation is not only the absorption of some digital technology, but it is to consider the use of digital technology to add value to production. So taking in this Brazilian strategy, together with Dr. Federico Torres and other ministries, a number of chambers or committees were created. So we have a Chamber of Cities that seeks to bring the ideas of cities for people, health, industry, and tourism. And then we have the Cabra 4.0 chamber that together with the Ministry of Agriculture. And in this chamber, a number of topics are being discussed. One of them is focused on innovation, and there are other things that were already mentioned, like data science, big data, artificial intelligence, and all those technologies that together manage to transform data that are taken to the field and information and knowledge to support decision making. Also, a part of professional development. Another thing that is very important for producers in Brazil. It's not only a matter of digital transformation, but also training people so that they can take this transformation to the producer. Because sometimes it is very hard to understand how this technology functions or works. The development of production chains, the suppliers, and this work group that takes into consideration all the elements that can be improved, where we can work, and also the part of connectivity in the rural areas that was also mentioned before, which is one of the main problems for producers in Brazil. Like in the case of Canada, there is a part in the north that has less coverage. And we can say that around 30% of the rural area of Brazil has a good coverage. So that, of course, leads to a number of problems. And something else that Dr. Sylvia mentioned briefly was that it's importance of associations and partnerships. So for Embrapa, it is important to work together with public and private associations. Dr. Sylvia talked about association that was an example for digital transformation with members from the public sector and the Central Bank of Brazil that finance research for data quality, processes, models, and to bring this information to specific places and producers so that we can reduce the risk of losses in their production cycles based on climate changes, and also some partnerships because Embrapa not only develops things for producers, it also carries out research supported by the academia and universities. But we need structures that may scale up this knowledge and this production and this technology, and that can make it actually reachable for producers. And then we can work with startups. Every year we develop different programs with startups to be able to find startups that may be interested in working with us and bring the technology developed by Embrapa to the producers. So thank you very much all for listening. So thank you very much for elaborating on what Sylvia had already said. Obviously, Brazil has a long-standing history and much to show all of us. We have much to learn from Brazil. And hopefully this panel will help us get to know the experiences from other countries, and then that can actually inspire us to replicate what works well. So we have had some very clear, detailed interventions, and that took most of the time that we had for this panel session. But in order to then conclude, I'd like to give the chance to each of the panel members to say some final remarks, particularly focused on what you do in your countries and your regions. In the case of the Andean community, what will you be doing in the forthcoming years, specifically to promote digitalization of agriculture, aside from what you have already told us? So I would like to ask Mr. Diego Caicedo, maybe you can give some ideas briefly with regards to this last question, and then we'll bid you goodbye. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to mention that the focus or strategy for the next 2 years is to work on the projects that I already mentioned, to finish the Intercom project that has to do with interoperability with trade. And this is a facilitating element for trade. There is a circulation of more 4 million documents, and many have to do with the exports of agricultural products. And so this would be the core of this activity or the idea of this initiative. So interoperability of our foreign trade to the FCAM project, which is a center of intelligence for plant health, that through the use of artificial intelligence, we seek to mitigate the diseases that are affecting the region as a pilot project in the fusarium that is affecting the banana production or plantations. And you know that they are very important for the Andean countries. And thirdly, to support the umbrella of the agricultural agenda and livestock agenda as well, that have a cross-cutting nature on the digital transformation. So we're working together with different cooperation agencies in the region to support this initiative. So that's basically it. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Diego, for your time, for your participation, for bringing the vision of the Andean community and being so concise in your last message. Now I would like to give the floor to Keely Holder, Chief of Staff in Barbados. Maybe she would like to say the last few things with regards to priorities in the future in
Yes,
terms of digital agriculture.
yes, thank you so much. As Barbados is a small island with 100% electrification and connectivity, our work is really focused in the next year or 2 years on building out the digital infrastructure, having the hardware as well as software components, so that we can start to migrate our people. The next aspect of that will be working closely with the farmers, helping them to get comfortable with the new types of technologies and working on that diffusion of innovation and adoption of these technologies so that they can be more effective and efficient in their operations. So our focus will be on training and putting in the infrastructure to be able to move very quickly in developing the digital agricultural framework. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Kili. Muchas gracias por
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation here. We value the opportunity to know more about what Barbados is doing. Now I would like to give the floor to Francois. Can you have some last words?
Yes,
And maybe,
thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
how this
Yeah.
strategic plan will be executed.
So we're still working on the implementation plan. It's certainly requiring the mobilization of our science experts within science and technology branch, and being very well aware how the sector is moving. But we'd like to mention that our expected outcome over the next 10 years is to see and measure an increase in the data-driven agricultural systems, which would increase the productivity, address some labor shortage that we see in some of the ag and food sectors, and so support automation. Want to see also outcomes as evidence-based decision-making through the efficient data acquisition and analysis of these data, but be able to reuse data sets as well, so combine different sources of data sets to acquire new insights that would help make better decisions in our production systems and increasing its sustainability, and be able to contribute to customizable solutions for different end users based on the big data analytics. And the last point is to better understand the greenhouse gas emission in ag and food through a standardized inventory system, so we can make the appropriate change and reduce our carbon footprint in the ag and food system. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Well, thank you very much, Francois. Thank you very much on behalf of ICA for your time here. We really thank you for your presence because now we have an idea of what Canada is doing, and thank you for your commitment to the panel. And now we will go to Carla for her last remarks. Carla, go ahead. Thank you very much. Just to conclude, I just wanted to convey a message from Embrapa and talking about the different actions that we're developing. But with this new management, something that we're trying to work on in the short term is to make sure that technology actually gets to the small producer. Somehow, this has already obtained by cooperatives and large producers, but small producers oftentimes do not have true access to it. So what we're doing right now, starting to do right now, is bring the medium-sized and small farmer, which represent many of the producers of the country, training sessions so that they can understand how digital transformation can add value to their production. And another important point that I believe to be very closely linked to this event is develop international partnerships. Last week, together with Colombia, we drafted a proposal to be able to bring the knowledge we have to that country. So this exchange of information among countries is something quite valuable because each of you has a certain amount of knowledge that can be shared, and this knowledge can contribute to the development of others. And so I would also like to thank you and convey the message that at Embrapa, we are completely willing to share our knowledge with you all. Thank you. Thank you very much, Carla, for your intervention. And we thank Sylvia as well. And then to conclude, now we'd like to give the floor to Federico for a very last comment. Thank you, Federico. Just wanted to elaborate on some of the points mentioned by Brazil a moment ago. That is the need to focus on small and medium-sized producers that we also have in Costa Rica, and we are undergoing a generational change. And of course, new generations are attracted to technology, and that is attracting these generations towards agriculture again. So this transition is a mandatory transition. We need to accomplish this transition for farms not only to be productive, but also to continue operating and continue producing and keep the food security in our countries. So that's the first thing I wanted to highlight. Now, with regards to projects, I listened to some very interesting and important ones mentioned by all my colleagues here. With regards to Fusarium, we have also been supporting some projects because of our banana production. And of course, everything that has to do with e-commerce, we have been developing a number of projects to enhance our participation, the participation of a small and medium-sized farmers in these tools. And it's one of our platforms, as it was mentioned before. But I believe this events to be of great importance because many of the things that I have heard from the different panel members have given me visions of things that we can implement in Costa Rica at this time and that we might not be doing at this time, and that we need to then be able to have actions that are more concrete, that have greater impact in the farm. So as Brazil said it, oftentimes we manage to have a transformation in cooperatives of producers, but we do not reach the producer, the small producer. So it is important for us to do that because it has an important impact. If we want for agriculture to grow in a healthy manner and providing results for society, I believe that to be one of the most important factors. And I would also like to conclude by highlighting the point of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is evolving very quickly, and many experts coincide that is becoming a general purpose technology. I have read different articles based on interesting studies that, well, from this general purpose type of technology. And when it becomes a general purpose technology, it transforms all sectors, all areas, basically all human performance. So in the agricultural sector, it must be given a key role in the forthcoming years, a greater role than what we have been given it so far. We have been developing the programs on precision agriculture and data science, but with many limitations, like many other developing countries. But artificial intelligence will have to become one of the most important tools in agriculture in the forthcoming years. Well, thank you very much, Federico. With Federico's remarks, we close this panel and we close the morning session. So once again, we'd like to thank all the panel members, high-level office officials with very busy agendas who took much of their time to be here. So we truly thank you for that. At ICA, we value that, and it was great to be able to listen to you, and hopefully what we heard will be able to develop new public policies in terms of digital agriculture in our countries. And so aside from greeting panel members, on behalf of ITCA, I would like to very briefly just say three things. We have the observatory presented by Joaquin and Eugenia as a tool where you can go and map the different policies that are being developed. We urge you to use it as a tool. There are different ways to use it, and you can explore them in different ways. We hope that the observatory can contribute to the development of better aimed policies and more effective policies for digital transformation of agriculture on one hand, and Joaquin and Eugenia would definitely love to answer any questions you may have with regards to the observatory. Now, some housekeeping announcements. We're going to go have lunch next door. Actually, it's not next door. It's in, well, we'll let you know where. I'm not sure about the room right now, but we'll walk together there. We won't get lost, I promise you. Every day we'll have lunch there, and then we'll come back at 2. We have some good time to network. And lastly, this is being broadcasted via the YouTube channels of ICA in 3 different channels. So we would like to greet those of you who are following the event in any of the languages. And if you want to tell your companies and your institutions what is going on, feel more than welcome to do so. If you need a picture or anything, we'll be more than happy to assist you with that. So we can give you ICA's accounts in case you want to reference them in your links or in your websites. You can definitely promote this event. So to put this event in your agendas as well. So thank you and good eats. Bye-bye. Bon appetit.